suffer in silence!
Hey, Mean Man here. So, WrestleMania 21. And it was interesting to see how it was going to be in California, and it's Hollywood. We had vignettes, wrestlers doing scenes from movies. You had, scenes from Forrest Gump. You had a scene from When Harry Met Sally. You had a taxi driver scene. You had a really cool one with Pulp Fiction. And so on and so forth. Ending with the one Gladiator, where you had Stone Cold Steve Austin. So WrestleMania 21 happens in California. It's one of the interesting shows that, I said WrestleMania will go downhill from WrestleMania 20, but we'll see how this goes. So we got a dark match. I'm not sure if Sunday Night Heat was still going at this point. Nor do I remember. We get the Battle Royal. Not sure what for. Again, I can't remember. I feel stupid for that, but Booker T won, eliminating Chris Masters. I didn't see it, so I can't tell you how good it was. And then we get to WrestleMania 21. And, yeah. So this is what pisses me off. So, you have two best friends, two wrestlers who've been in the same ring of ECW, WCW, Mexico, I think Japan, and Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. Now, I'm not sure how this eventually came about, but yeah, they faced each other. They were the WWE Tag Team Champions from SmackDown. And this kind of pisses me off because, A, you just made an excuse not to have your SmackDown Tag Team Champions defend at WrestleMania. And B, whether we knew it or not, this was Eddie Guerrero's last WrestleMania ever, before he passed away later that year. And I understand that, yeah, they work well together, but they were the Tag Team Champions. You couldn't find competition? I mean, I don't care if this was a good match or not. They would eventually have a big feud in the summer. Again, with a ridiculous stipulation. But again, this is crap that didn't need to happen, but it did. I mean, it would have been a good match. It would have been better if they didn't have the championship belts. It would have been a lot better. I mean, and the fact that, yes, they were also faces. So at the end of the match, they would embrace whatever. This just left a bad taste in my mouth. Even now, Then we get the first time ever Money in the Bank match. There's Edge, Chris Jericho, Shelton Benjamin, Chris Benoit, Christian with Tyson Tomko, and Kane. It's funny. Chris Jericho was the one that came up with the idea that we should have Money in the Bank. Came up with this whole concept and everything. Out of all the matches that he's been in with Money in the Bank, has not won a single one. Isn't that pathetic? But it is what it is. At this point, Edge was starting to turn heel again, and it was kind of cool to see that. He looked like Chris Benoit. I was a little concerned, Yeah, he was not as tall as everyone else, but he must have taken some kind of muscle enhancement to get this guy who's, whatever, 5 foot, whatever, and he's built like a brick shithouse in a certain way, and you can't see a neck. It's kind of concerning to me, but Shelton Benjamin doing a T-bone off the ladder. Wow, that was fucking cool. You get all these things. Edge ended up winning and then going on to be the WWE champion later that year. So, this was a good match. I think that years down the road, making all these stipulation pay-per-views is kind of stupid. But Money in the Bank, this was pretty cool for the first one. Then we get Undertaker versus Randy Orton. Now Randy Orton becoming the youngest world champion, defeating Chris Benoit at SummerSlam of 2004. And then having Evolution turn on him. The feud with him and Triple H. And then you get this whole thing where Randy Orton goes back to being a heel with the assistance of Bob Cowboy Orton, his dad. And all because he wants to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He calls himself the Legend Killer. Beating up Mick Foley, Harley Race. Even the Fabulous Moolah. This kind of was interesting because they would have a better feud. But this was a good match. I think that having Randy Orton do a tombstone was interesting. But despite the interference with Bob Orton, The Undertaker won the match. And it's 13-0. And then we get the Women's Championship match. Trish Stratus, who became a heel at this point, the Women's Champion. Actually, no, well, she became a heel at WrestleMania 20. But here she has the title. She defeated Christy Hemme with Lita in the corner. Now, that was a surprising chick kick before the match even started. And, Trish Stratus won the match. But, it's funny how Christy Hemme just disappeared off the face of the earth. She eventually went to TNA. She had a few matches. Then she became a ring announcer. And, that was it. I have no idea where she is. But, at the time she was pretty cool. She eventually had a storyline with Eugene. I'll bring him up later. But, yeah, this was pretty cool. I think Trish Stratus as a cocky heel is pretty cool. I think this is where she had a broken nose. And then we get into a promotional match. We have Raw's Shawn Michaels versus SmackDown's Kurt Angle. And I'm not sure how it came about. I think Kurt Angle wanted to challenge Shawn Michaels. I'm not sure. But this was a good back and forth. You had sensational Sherry Martel coming out. And I'm not sure if she was on something, but she did a thing with Kurt Angle doing the Sexy Boy theme. You have Kurt Angle beating up Marty Jannetty, then they get this match. And it was a good match. And Kurt Angle being one of the best technicians. You get Shawn Michaels claiming to be Mr. WrestleMania, although I don't think so. But Kurt Angle came out the better man, as I thought, during the ankle lock to Shawn Michaels. the Heartbreak Bitch. Then we get another, a sumo match. I was going to say promotional, but this is a sumo match. Akebono versus Big Show. Now, Akebono, a Samoan guy who went to Japan to become a sumo wrestler, coming over and having this match with Big Show. A little bit, maybe a foot smaller than Big Show, but still, same size. This was cool. Of course, Akebono surprisingly won the match. I haven't seen too many fights with him, but he did win the match. And then, of course, the Hound and whatnot and stuff. But this was cool to see that sumo match at WrestleMania. To a WWE Championship match. We have JBL versus John Cena. It's funny, the Royal Rumble you had kind of like a Bret Hart, Lex Luger thing. You had John Cena and Batista eliminate each other. They were the last two and they eliminated each other. So of course, referees come out, they put up one hand and then they put up another hand. And then in comes Vince McMahon. Marches in the ring, gets in the ring and breaks both quads. It's hard to imagine. I don't know the feeling, but I can't imagine how much pain Vince McMahon must have been in. But the match was restarted and Batista won. So automatically Batista gets the main event. But this one was the WWE Championship match. JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield versus John Cena. And last year John Cena won the United States Championship. He made it into a spinner belt. Okay, good for him. So I thought, okay, if John Cena wins this match, what's he gonna do with the WWE Championship? Oh, was I surprised. Because John Cena becomes the new WWE Champion. As many matches as these two had, this was pretty cool. Just to see how a wrestler evolves through the years. You have John Cena as the hip-hop guy, and then you have him at the 2003 Survivor Series, him and Chris Benoit being the last two. Chris Benoit forcing John Cena to shake his hand. And that's the point where John Cena became face. And then you have him win the United States Championship at WrestleMania 20. Well, this year, he finally gets his due. Wins the WWE Championship. Probably the youngest wrestler at the time to win the WWE Championship. And then we get Triple H versus Batista for the World Championship. Of course, Triple H is the first one to come out to Motorhead. They're back. Unfortunately, Lemmy's a bit older. And, yeah. He fucking forgot the lyrics, I think. But anyways, he came out, and Batista came out. They had a pretty good match. Their rivalry was really cool. I think the cage match was awesome. The Hell in the Cell. I think they had a really good rivalry there. 3 matches, and then, But Batista wins the World Championship at WrestleMania 21. I figured that would happen. You had in the beginning JBL and Triple H face each other in both belts. JBL has the cabinet by his side. Ric Flair is by Triple H's side and they're talking, and we'll see who wins our matches. And funny how they both lose at this WrestleMania. But I was going to mention too that between WrestleMania you had 2 very interesting segments. You had one segment, you get this Nick Dinsmore, and he plays this mentally challenged guy, Eugene. Nick, yeah, and this was him coming down, and I wasn't really necessarily offended. I just think it was wrong. But one offense to another, in a way, you get the Muslim guy, Muhammad Hassan, with the VAR. You know, it's funny how Vince McMahon likes to push the envelope. And this year, it's like, okay, so what better way to have the envelope pushed is have a terrorist angle. You know, you have the fear in a lot of Americans' eyes, and then you have Muhammad Hassan. And then eventually went too far, but, you know, he comes out, he talks a bit, and then he beats up Eugene. Some in a camel clutch, and everyone is like, oh my god. And then out comes Hulk Hogan. And yeah, he was in WrestleMania the year before, wrestling Vince McMahon, having a good match. So he comes out and he beats up Muhammad Hassan. And then, of course, celebrates in the ring. But then we had another segment. We had the return of Piper's Pit. So Roddy Piper comes out. Now, Roddy Piper had cancer. He had cancer with cancer. I was thinking for a minute. And he got better. But he was inducted into the Hall of Fame that year. Had Hulk Hogan as well. So coming out and thanking everybody. And then we get the special guest, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, of course, Roddy Piper being a badass motherfucker in the 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s. Well, actually, WCW was the late 90s, but then you get Stone Cold Steve Austin, a badass motherfucker from the 90s and the 2000s. So these guys go, and they go at it, they slap each other first, then they talk a bit. And then here comes out Carlito. Carlito Colon, or Carlito Caribbean Cool, whatever you want to call it. He comes out, and then he eventually goes, Roddy Piper. Stone Cold has a laugh, then goes, I'm gonna take care of business. And then he beats up Carlito. And then afterwards, him and Roddy Piper have a few beers. And then Stone Cold Stunner, a few more beers, Austin leaves. So overall, this was a good WrestleMania. Not as good start as, you know, I thought, but, I mean, I pretty much knew the first match. Oh shit, I didn't really, you know, I didn't like the way it was planned. But yeah, you know, WrestleMania was interesting. And I'm just looking here. You did not have a Tag Team Championship match. So, a no Tag Team Championship match on Raw. And then, of course, your two SmackDown champions are facing each other in the first match. So that was shit. You also didn't really have the Intercontinental Championship defended. But that was like the third year now that the Intercontinental Championship wasn't defended. And, you know, I know I'm going to nitpick at it because why? You know, why? I mean, last time, yeah, I get it. Randy Orton was on Evolution's team and they faced the Rock and Sock Connection, but this is how stupid that Vince McMahon can be. But that was WrestleMania 21. And, yeah. Like I said last time, wasn't the greatest. Yeah, it was alright. Not completely terrible, but I think a few things saved it. That's why. Anyways, I'll talk to you later. Bye.